I went to every lawyer that I could find, but they all told me that there is no law for bullying someone at work.
And then one day he asked me out on a date. I mean, I'm a married woman. How are you supposed to tell your boss that you don't want to see them?
He tried really hard to make my life miserable at work, but I was not going to let him get to me.
At first I went to the other senior partners and told them what was happening. They said they would handle it, but they didn't. They did nothing. They just did nothing.
And so my name is Maria, and I worked at a government entity for 7 years. I was the best in my office at what I did. So about a year ago, they hired this guy from the competition. From day one, he started riding me. At first, I thought I needed to work harder. But the harder I worked, the more he kept riding me. So I asked him one day, "What's the problem that you have with me? Let's just put it out there. Lay the cards on the table. Let's find out what the issue is here." And he said, "It's because I don't want any girls working in my office. Transfer to another office, and I will gladly sign off on it." So then I said to myself, why should I move to another office because he has a problem with my sex? And who is he calling a girl? I'm a woman.
I worked for a big legal firm in the city for about 18 years. Never had any problems. I got along with everyone. The senior partners were great. Then about 3 years ago, they hired this new guy to be a senior partner in the firm. And at first he was great. Yeah, he was always complimenting me on my appearance, but it was never offensive. And then he was always hanging around my desk, always striking up artificial conversations. And then one day he asked me out on a date. I mean, I'm a married woman. How are you supposed to tell your boss that you don't want to see them? I don't know how, but I did it. So I told him I wasn't interested in seeing him or in cheating on my husband. And shortly after that, I became a target. He would exclude me from emails. He would exclude me from meetings. And he would keep me from the cases that I needed to get my job done. At first, he was just hurting the clients, but then the other senior partners thought that I wasn't getting the job done. So I began to look for help outside the firm. You know what they told me? They told me there isn't a law against workplace bullying. But if they would have looked closer, they would have seen that this isn't just a case of workplace bullying. This is a case of sexual harassment. If they'd only look closer.
When he saw what he was doing to me wasn't getting to me, he stepped up his game. He did all kinds of underhanded things, from trying to bring up all kinds of false charges against me, for trying to discipline me for things that I was well in my right to do. One thing I specifically remember was he told me to do one project, and then another supervisor would tell me to get on another project. So I would go to work on that project. Then he saw I wasn't doing the project that he first told me that he wanted me to do, and he would write me up for insubordination. But what was I supposed to do? The other supervisor pulled me away from that project, and he eventually fired me for that. Man, I love that job. I still don't know if both supervisors were in on that. So because my government job had a union, I filed a grievance for being fired. However, when you grieve it, you have to go to arbitration. And in this arbitration, everyone there works for the government. So your interest is the last thing on anyone's mind. That's right, even the union rep was on the side of the government.
If you don't hold to account those who carry out these horrible atrocities, it leaves the door open for them to do more.
And then he isolated me in the office. He showed my coworkers that if they were a friend of mine, then they were an enemy of his. No one wants to be an enemy of their boss. All these people who were my so-called friends for 18 years, they just abandoned me because they didn't want to become a target. I saw these people's kids grow up. I tried to avoid him in the office, but because he's my boss, I have to go to him for items to complete my work. He just made it unbearable every chance he got. Because of the isolation, I became depressed. It wreaked havoc on my marriage. My husband blamed me. He said I must be doing something to make my boss come after me like this, but I did nothing. I did nothing. Like I said, I got depressed. I had a nervous breakdown. I think bullying is the new way to discriminate against someone. If there's someone you don't like at your office, just because of their color of their skin, their religion, or like in my case, their sex, you can just harass them. Make their job miserable. You can sabotage their work and make their job a miserable place to be. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. Workplace bullying hurts the business, the customers, and the families. If you're a woman, chances are you're going to experience workplace bullying. If you're gay or a person of color, you'll likely experience bullying. You may not even know you are, but you are. So why not stop workplace bullying before it comes into your business or your home and hurts the ones you love?
They gave the arbitrators all the false evidence of all the charges that they had filed against me, that I had already beaten in the grievance process. So these charges aren't even supposed to exist. I complained to my union rep to stop the arbitrator from seeing the charges that were removed from my personal record because they had no merit. But he did nothing. Whose side was he on? The arbitrators sided against me based on the files that shouldn't even have existed in the first place. I have not been able to get a job in the field since. I could remember one day driving. I had a knot in my stomach that grew bigger and bigger as I drove closer to work. So as I'm driving, I pull over to the shoulder of the highway. I was feeling so sick. I opened the door to my car and just threw up. No one could help me.
Hello?
Hello, Diane. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm sorry to bother you, but I just have one more question. Could you tell me why is it you never quit? Why did you put up with the bullying?
I honestly thought the company would help me. I tolerated it for as long as I could. And I was 57 years old. I had never been treated that way. And I honestly thought the corporation would come forward and help me, but they did not.
You don't decide how to do it. I decide. And I told you to start standing.
I'm doing my job.
You're not.
I am doing my
You're
job.
not.
We're all doing our job.
No, you're not. None of you.
Isn't what I'd seen. The sky's not blue and the field's not green. I'm gonna ask you to look away. A broken life will never stay. Try too hard.